Man of God.
Yes.
So today you want to teach us about something very interesting. You want to teach us about culture influenced by language.
Yes.
So what culture are we talking about exactly?
So, thank you. It's very important.
Yes.
If ever I'm going to benefit the most from the Bible,
Yes.
I must understand, number one, the people that wrote the Bible
Yes.
and their culture.
Okay.
So God is a God of everybody.
Yes.
Good. But we all agree that he started with the Hebrews. Right?
We agree.
Started with the Hebrews.
Yes.
And you must also be able to know.
So, sorry, man of God. So
Yes.
the Israelites were Hebrews.
The Israelites were Hebrews, but Hebrews are not necessarily Israelites.
Okay.
Okay. Let me give you an example. The word Israel came with Jacob.
Jacob.
Right? Is the one that gave birth to
Israel.
Right? He was
Israel and gave birth to the Israelites.
So you cannot say Isaac was an Israelite.
Oh,
But he was a
Hebrew. Okay, okay, I get it.
You get it.
I get it.
So most of the people that wrote the Bible were Hebrews.
We're Hebrews.
So you have to be able to understand the reason why we don't understand the Bible, where there's a lot of chaos in the Bible. It's not about us reading the Bible. It's about understanding the Hebrew culture.
The culture of the people
Yes.
that wrote the Bible.
Because culture influences the language. It's not the language that starts and then the culture. It's the culture that then brings the
once we have idioms, they
Yes.
coming from culture and then they translate into a language.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you then begin to see that we are from Africa. We are now reading a Bible written by a Hebrew guy.
Ooh.
And we are interpreting it in our own cultures. That's chaos.
Okay.
So somebody might say, okay, but God is it's good, and we agree. We are not saying God is not for us all, but we're just saying for us to understand better.
I need to understand.
I need to understand the Hebrew. I don't really need to know the language per se, because that might be too huge for an ordinary person. But we're just saying there are things that you need at least to know about the Hebrew culture. Right? Let's say you get married to someone outside your culture. You're not going to say, it's just us. No, you're going to say, okay, how do they do their things?
Yes.
When they're angry, how do they look? When they're happy, how do they look? Not what do they say. What they say is now the last thing, but I have to understand their culture.
Their way of doing things.
The way of doing things.
Wow.
So you then begin to realize that if you could understand Hebrew, and I'm hoping that I'm going to teach you and teach our listeners a bit of Hebrew. I will not really get deep into it, maybe here and there,
yes.
but I'll be explaining.
Okay.
So people must not say, "Oh, I'm not going to listen to this.
Yes.
It's too much theological." No, this is for the average Christian, and I want to help you to understand better. Look here. In English, and I know in Swati you also have some phrases or some words that when you say, I might assume you mean this.
Well, it's the total opposite.
Right.
Yes.
Let me give you a simple thing in English. In English, they say, he kicked the bucket.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
He died.
He died. You see?
Yes.
But somebody who might read that later on might picture a bucket and someone kicking the bucket and then say, okay.
It doesn't make sense.
So now it's an English phrase, but it's more like a culture. It's an idiom. It means something. Not exactly what the word says, but it means something.
You jump the gun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You jump the gun. So somebody might say,
why are you jumping a gun?
Jumping a gun. They picture the gun. They picture someone jumping the gun. So in every language, you realize
there's a
there is that
culture.
phrase that brings out the culture, not really the words.
Words. Okay.
So if we are to understand the Bible,
we need to
we
understand.
need to have a bit of an understanding of these people and their way of living. So that is why I believe every Christian at some point in their life, they should get to Israel.
Wow.
Right?
Yes.
It should be a desire, not necessarily to say, to go there and actually have a bit of a better understanding of the Bible.
You're putting it into context,
Yes.
basically. Okay.
You see how they live, you see what they wear, you see how they talk, you then realize,
this is what they meant.
This is what they meant when they said this.
Okay.
You see, like the woman with the woman at the well who met Jesus.
Yes.
That was a culture shock that was happening there. So if you don't read it in the context of Hebrew, you're wondering, why is she saying, I can't give you water?
I mean, you're at the well. You should be able to draw water.
Exactly. So it's very important. This is just our introduction. It's very important that we get to understand a bit of Hebrew idioms, or a bit of Hebrew culture, or their way of doing things. Okay, let me give you an example. You know, the Jews. Okay, there's that word Jews. Okay, right? The Jews are the richest people in the world.
Wow. Okay.
Right? If you check most of the rich people, if you check their background,
yes,
they're Jews. So there is something about the Hebrew culture. There is definitely something about the Hebrew culture that if we could learn, we could change even the course of our lives.
Wow.
Now, let me show you what I mean. Do you know, like in English, we talk about the lotto?
Yes.
So you can win.
Yes.
Money. Right? That's an English thing. But do you know, in Hebrew language, there is nothing called winning money.
Really?
Yes. In their language, there is no winning money. In Hebrew, there is only earning money.
Wow. That's a culture shock.
So to the Hebrews, winning money is
non-existent.
Is non-existent. It's irrelevant. They don't believe you can win money. They believe in earning money. So it means their culture has taught them you don't live by luck. But in English we say you won money. We are giving our children, we are giving our society that aspect that you can be lazy.
Yeah, that's true.
And one day, from nowhere, you can just strike the jackpot. So in the Hebrew culture and in the Hebrew language, there is nothing about winning.
You work for the things that you have. Wow.
Okay, it's like the Chinese. Okay, this I've heard. I've never really asked the Chinese. They say there is no word in their vocabulary for a mistake. Their word for mistake is opportunity.
Wow.
Right. But anyway, I'm not a Chinese. Let me switch back to you. But those who know Chinese, say, you're lying. I just say what I said there. So you then realize that there is no issue of winning money. Right? In Hebrew. In English, there's winning money and there's earning money. But the Spanish, they don't differentiate. In their language, there is no differentiation whether you won the money or you ended or you got money.
It's your money.
It's your money. So already it means there are cultures that are showing us that whether you win, whether you earn it, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
There are other cultures that say you can win it, you can earn it. What is that doing to our education system? What is that doing to our children? What is that doing to our daughters? It means in certain cultures, whether I rob, or whether I have a job,
it's yours.
Money is money.
Yeah.
So if I steal it, if I work for it, money is money. There are other cultures that say, okay, you stole. you worked, but they still have the options.
The
But then the Hebrews, they don't. They say money is
And
that's it.
wow.
So you begin to realize it's very important. The series that we are starting now about the Hebrew language, it's very important that I teach you a certain mentality of the Hebrews, a certain mentality and understanding that you'll be able to understand.
Oh, I cannot wait to dig deeper into these ones, and I cannot wait to fully understand the culture behind Hebrew. Already the first one where we have to earn our money, where we have to earn our things is so enlightening. You don't just get things. In the Hebrew context, things are earned. You do the hard work, you do the labor, and you do your part. Indeed, we meet on the next part or the next one, and we are going to be learning more about the Hebrew culture.
Yeah.